Welcome to Mary McCorvey Experience Over Expectations podcast, which you can find on YouTube, Substack, and any place you find your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe today.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mary McCorvey, host of Experience Over Expectation, where we encourage you to let go of the plan and live on your terms. The book is available September 23rd, wherever you get your books. Thank you so much for joining us today, Luann Horobin. And she is an executive and transformationalist, a leadership coach, and someone who has dedicated her life to helping people upgrade the way that they think. She thinks about vertical development, not just adding skills like apps on a phone, but actually upgrading the entire operating system itself. That kind of shift changes how we lead, how we show up, and how we shape the future. Luann's mantra is changing minds, changing lives. And she has worked with thousands of high performers who have hit that moment of asking, and we all have, is this all there is? What's next? Today, we're going to explore the power of mindset and the role of presence and what it takes to really lead through change in a way that is authentic, impactful, and deeply human. Thank you so much, Luann, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you as well. I'm really excited to be here and quite privileged, feeling quite honored. Thank you.
Wonderful. Tell us about your mindset, transformation model, and a little bit about yourself. I just talked about you, but in your own words.
Okay. I learned early in my early adulthood the impact of mindset in my life, in that the way I was raised really brought forth a strong mindset about performance and achievement type of thing. And when I ran into situations that didn't work from my initial approach, which was the high achieving and go for it type of thing, it really made me focus and go within and just see what in the world else can I do? Because it really felt like I was up against the wall. Basically, I would say I had a mountain much bigger than I ever thought, was much bigger than me and much bigger than I ever thought I could climb. And I just needed to be in a different space. So it led me to recognizing that. And once I started in it, it is something I have an insatiable appetite for, because the more I learn, the more I continue to learn, the more I continue to learn, that type of thing. And so through the years, I'm now working with a mind shift journey, which is actually it's actually a process, a step-by-step process that allows us to go through many of the actual processes that help us to recognize where we are. And from there, we can get an awareness of how we can change, because it incorporates a lot of the concepts that are science-based, as well as many of the thought leaders like Bob Keegan, Lisa Leahy, etc. Yes. So that's really exciting. It's very rewarding.
Yes, I bet it is. Tell us a little bit about the model itself.
In the model itself, like I said, it is a structure, and it takes us from our original place of where we are, where we're beginning to just recognize there's something going on that is important to me, that feels like it's out of my reach.
Right.
Or it might feel like I've really tried a lot of things and it's just not working, type of thing. But this thing, I'm going to call it the one big thing, because that's what we call it, is important, and it's got value to it. There's a reason why I want to do it now. Yet it's out of my reach. It's like I'm up against the wall, and then it's on the other side of the wall. When we recognize that we have that, then we go through the steps of awareness and change, recognizing that, and then looking at what is making me use the same approach. Because, as I've often said, we have protective strategies that we learned early in our life, and they're very real to us because they had meaning at one point in time. But we've basically we've outgrown them. But it's not like they're going to just tell us, you've outgrown this approach, you need to get another one. Because once they've become useful, they become familiar.
Right.
And they're like a go-to. But those protective strategies are not really working for us. So it helps us to recognize those, look at where did they come from? So we get right actually into the root of it, which I'm summarizing this in a nutshell. Basically, again, that is again working with that brain chemistry of not being, when we're in the protective strategy and it's driving us.
Mm-hmm.
And basically when it's driving us, if we were to look at it a little bit more science-like, that's cortisol, which shuts down our decision making and our relationship building, our creativity, our growth. So ultimately, we're recognizing cortisol does not have to be the driver.
Mm-hmm.
Our protective strategies do not have to be the driver. So there's a point where we recognize that and begin to unravel, or I call dismantle, that previous framework.
Right.
And that's why we call it vertical development, is because we're not changing something that we're doing. We're actually changing the root of it and how we see it, so that it has a whole new meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that's what happens. We see the world differently.
Right.
If we want to do something better, we want to look at it differently. We need to see it differently. Yeah. So from there,
I really want to get my head around how I can possibly use this for me. Because I don't know if you know this, but the world revolves around me.
isn't
Just,
that,
just kidding. But a lot of people think
I
that.
know what you mean. I understand what you mean. So sometimes we are up against the wall, but we might not really recognize how much we're up against the wall. In that sense, what I hear you saying, and let me know if I understood you correctly, I could be up against the wall, but not really thinking that it's me. I think it's the world around me.
Let me give you an example, and maybe we can use this model to unpack it.
Sure.
So I started a company, it was a software development company. And we had done all of the research and all of the marketing studies and had all of the information at our disposal to take this platform to market.
Mhm.
And we did. And so the big mountain was we had to climb the startup space. We had to climb
Mhm.
to get to the customer and to make this company a success. And
Mhm.
so what we did was we kept going out and with different kinds of marketing, but we kept going to the same customers because that's something that our research had indicated that's what we should do. And so we just kept doing the same thing again and again until, of course, we did learn to pivot and go in a different direction. But at that point, before you learn that you're going to have to pivot, but you still are sitting there facing this huge mountain, take me, okay? Just assume for a moment that it's me with this company again. Take me through your process of understanding how I can do the breakthrough.
Okay. So I would start off first of all looking at, so what is the one big thing? Like you're wanting to achieve a different outcome with your marketing, but you may not have recognized that the audience you're approaching is not your ideal audience. And so I call that kind of like the fruit on the trees. We have an exterior goal that really means a lot. That's our one big thing. It's got a lot of meaning, but yet it's not really coming to fruition the way I want.
Right.
And so in looking at that closer, what I would do is I look at, so what is driving this approach? And it's like, why is it this one approach? It's almost like the purple cow concept. Why is it that I want to keep this particular approach versus try others? So that would be, why would you not want to look at it from a more objective view? So subjective is when I'm in it. Like I believe that this is my audience. That's because I'm in it. I'm not really very objective. I'm not looking at it from outside of it. And when I'm subjective, I'm very attached. I think this is the right thing to do. And so that's actually, for some reason, that strategy says, but I know this is right. So the first thing we would do is look at what is the stretch. So I would look at that process, like where are the ways that you could stretch to try something differently, which is likely to reveal the attachment to your one audience. Then the stretch becomes, we look at what's a stretch that if you did it, excuse me, you would, like, it almost seems like it's out of character for myself.
Right.
That's when I'm objective. I would actually think, if I did, this would be like really phenomenal. But that's also something that doesn't really feel within my reach. So we look at what's the stretch and what's behind that. That basically begins your process of awareness. And that's where you can become objective. Once you look at that, more and more beliefs. So you get, we call it a map. Like when we have a goal, we in our mind, we have a map to get there. But the new map is, what are the different beliefs and processes? So in other words, how did I dilute the power of this? I've got this one audience. How did I, so because when I dilute that this is the right one, and that's one of the ways of recognizing it, is if I think something is particularly right, anytime I think that one thing is particularly right, I'm probably on a bit of a limited path.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So awareness brings forth many things. Then we go into the stretch. What's the stretch? And from there,
Before you even get into the stretch, there's something that I want to ask you about, and that is fear. So, for example,
Yes.
what you're describing as subjective was actually, to our minds, very objective, because we had spent all of this time and money doing market research. So we were just so convinced that was the right thing to do. And then when it wasn't working and it wasn't working and it wasn't working, it became, there was a fear base in there.
Yes.
How do you get past that fear base in order to really say, okay, this is clearly not working. I need to stretch in another direction?
So what I would suggest is, at that point when it wasn't working and it wasn't working, at the same time what I heard is that you're still using the same concept. I'm receiving feedback that is contrary. So our outside world tells us, are we really on track with our beliefs? Are our beliefs really powerful or not? And so what I heard is, I'm receiving this impact that it's not receiving that I'm not connecting with my audience, but I'm still using the same approach. So I'm not actually integrating the feedback with an open mind that has a question. And that is accurate. It is because there is a fear. That is that protective strategy that says, I did this research. I know this is right. And anytime I'm in that mindset, that's one of the first signs that we're probably not in our most productive mindset.
Right.
Because our most productive mindset.
You can recognize if you're feeling fear. If
Yes.
you feel like you're right.
Yes,
okay,
but you are feeling
just
fear.
keep bumping up against these obstacles. And then, of course, that's compromising, has the ability to compromise what the objective is. And then there's this fear base of what the heck is going to happen if this doesn't work. And so that's one of the first things to recognize about yourself, is if you are feeling fear, then you need to maybe think about changing your mindset. Am I on the right track?
Yes, you are on the right track. And what I would suggest here is that a limiting belief leads us to a dead end wall every time. Whereas as soon as we look at the stretch, it's kind of like as soon as we look at the stretch, we're going to have a different outcome. We're going to have a different approach. That's a different part of the brain, and it's more curious, it's more open, and we're open to solutions. But when we're in limiting beliefs, that solution part of the brain is really restricted because it's a different brain chemistry. So as soon as we look at something else as an option, as soon as we recognize I'm running up against the same thing, that's a big sign.
Right.
That says that now I want to revisit. And so that's where I look at then what is my stretch? Like, how can I approach something differently? And the way I first of all approach something differently is look at, so what's the exact opposite of what I'm doing? And usually the exact opposite of what I'm doing is how I'm confronting that fear that is keeping me where I'm at. So we look at, so what's an uncomfortable opposite? Like, it's uncomfortable. That's probably when you're breaking through the fear. And so we just work through that process to get to the depth of where is it originating from? Does it boil down to a fear of success, fear of failure, or a fear of financial fear, scarcity fear? Like, where is that coming from? That actually leads us to then creating this, what I call the map. And the map lets us look at, oh, this is like my operating system.
So we go back then to the example. So we're up against the wall. We recognize that we have fear related to this not being successful. Okay. And that's a fear of failure. It's a fear of losing the investor's money. It's a fear of losing our own endeavor. This is spoken by someone who is an entrepreneur. So
Yes.
I've definitely been there.
Yes.
So I recognize the fear and I say, okay, now Luann tells me that I need to look at something the opposite, right? And so what the stretch was in our case was that we went from advertising into education. And that's a bit of a stretch. It required completely different marketing. It required completely different approaches. And I'm curious as to your mindset of now we're in the stretch. Okay, we're going into education. Tell us how your mindset model helps us through that.
To go into that stretch, we would have had to look at what was keeping me where I was before. And when I go into the stretch, I'm actually facing the fear. And fear is an interesting thing in that when we face it, it tends to diminish it. Because fear is, like research shows, fear has less than a 10% chance of actually coming forward because it's based on anticipation of the future. But once we go into that stretch, we're actually in the present, and we're in a different mindset because when we're in the present, we're actually in that mindset that creates and makes decisions as we move along. So we're operating from the past, and we're not operating from the future. We're actually in this present state. So that stretch actually that's where the momentum changes and energy changes. That leads us to then, like I was saying, there's the map. So now we have a different mindset of, okay, here's how I can explore this. And here are the steps. It's who am I becoming to be in my new mindset? But who am I becoming that's different to want to educate versus market? Because it is a different approach.
Yes,
it's a different outlook, and it's a whole different energy as well. And so then I'm growing awareness. I'm growing more awareness of the education mindset, the whole concept of growth. And the more I connect and grow, I challenge my previous limits.
Mhm.
Like I challenge them.
What are the waypoints on this map that I can look at as I go through my journey?
I'm sorry, what was the which part?
What are the waypoints? What are I know I'm looking at a map, but I don't
Mhm.
really know what I'm looking at a map of.
Okay, so when I'm creating this map, what I call the map is where I've recognized I have these limiting strategies. And then I'm recognizing also a little bit about where they're coming from. So I'm just getting a clearer picture. It's like if I was mapping out a journey, I would have it in more detail than just randomly working with it as it shows up in my head.
Right.
I actually have a map in front of me that shows me this is where I've been coming from, and this is my disconnect. So this is my stretch. And once I get into my stretch, these are the types of things that I'm testing out. So I'm
Right.
testing out. I want to use, for example, the education approach. So I will set up for myself like an actual experiment. So to come to your question, our map has what are my old strategies and why are those beliefs there? And then I actually challenge them. I'm just saying, for example, a limiting belief could be when my marketing approach was the way that I wanted it. How would I ever believe that education is going to be the way that it's going to be? Well, the way to the path to success.
Mm-hmm.
So I challenge myself with that belief that education is the path to success, which forces me to face a lot of things about that I wasn't facing previously in my older approach.
Right.
So the picture, so then I can say, so then if this is true, there's a whole new world that opens up, and it actually just dilutes the strength of my previous limiting beliefs. Now,
Excellent.
tried to put that in a nutshell. So how did that sound to you? Did I answer your question? Does it resonate for you?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. So so we're challenging our previous limits. And in that sense, when we challenge those previous limits, we actually create new habits. So then I say, okay, if I've done this before, my stretch is to go into this place. And because I've challenged it and I've faced it and I'm thinking, they don't actually have the grip. I can now create new habits and be in a completely new presence.
Okay.
Because the old patterns, beliefs, and those old real reasons for what we were doing, they just don't have any weight. And I guess what I would say is too, that once you've experienced sort of the joy of connecting with the education approach, you just really don't have a desire to go back to the marketing approach.
And it also alleviates the fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've faced the fear. So you've recognized it's not going to come up again. So this is how I call this vertical development, because we actually are changing that whole structure of beliefs and how we see the world. But how we see the world is really who we are becoming.
Mm-hmm.
We become a completely new presence because we've grown.
So I've gone on the map.
Yes,
And
yes,
I've followed the path.
yes.
And how will I know when I get to my destination?
You will know when you get to your destination because you will feel completely different. Like the energy that you have when you are using the approach of education, you're trying different things. It requires a whole new presence to
Mhm.
educate versus to market.
Mhm.
And so you'll feel the difference in yourself. You get the rewards from it. But what you also do is, as the outside world, I guess it's more of a fluent flow with the outside world. It's as the outside world, as we get feedback from the outside world, our inner world has the whole capacity to deal with it and turn it into the situation we're looking for. Whereas prior to that, the outside world was probably like it was the mountain. And we weren't able to we definitely were not able to interact with it in flow. We kept coming up to a dead end.
Mhm. And we have vertically transcended.
Yes, that's vertical development.
No,
That's-
I know it's vertical development, but we have
Yes.
transcended.
Yes, that's right.
Vertically.
We definitely have, for sure. That's very
Okay.
much. And so I think that's why people say it's more than personal development. It's a feeling of it's a whole new presence.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. What else would you like to share?
I think what I like to share is I think what I've understood from working with these processes is that often what we're wanting sometimes feels out of our reach, and it's much closer than we think it is. Just simply by taking a closer look at it.
Mhm.
We usually are closer than what we think, because I guess if I was to go into the brain part again, when we have dreams and visions, we are 100% intended to achieve them, because we're the only one that gets our dreams and our visions.
Mhm.
So if they come to us, that means we have what we need to achieve them. It's just that sometimes there's a kind of a bit of a block in how do we do that. And that block is very achievable to overcome.
And you
Kind
can
of like,
help, and you can help people do that.
yes, like the obstacle is the way,
Mhm.
for
I
sure.
love that. The
Yes.
obstacle is the way.
Oh, it really
Well,
is.
Luann, how can people get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I've got my contact information is there as well. And there's a bit of information about some of the things that I do, but I love to have conversations because I find that we get a clearer understanding of
Mhm.
what it is we're actually achieving, how it is, how can we get there, that type of thing. So I
Mhm.
really love to have the conversations. So
Well,
I would suggest LinkedIn.
this one has been very inspiring and enlightening. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's really my pleasure.
Wonderful. This is Experience Over Expectation. I'm Mary McCorvey, and today we've been with Luann Horobin, and she has been talking about how we can map success into a new presence. And we really appreciate you being here.
I really
Experience
appreciate
Experience Over Expectation is available September 23rd, anywhere you get your books. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Mary McCorvey's Experience Over Expectations podcast. Be sure to subscribe today on YouTube and Substack, or listen wherever you find your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.